Springfield Fire Department has been busy after they say crews were called out twice in 12 hours to the same home. Thanks for joining us from News Source 16 at 6:30. I'm Kelsey Dudley. Cat Wolcott is off tonight. Investigators are calling this house fire unusual after fire crews show up to the house twice. It's tonight's top story. Deputy Chief Randy DeWitt of the Eugene Springfield Fire Department says crews initially responded to the home in the 1500 block of Linda Avenue before 9 last night. He says it took crews 20 minutes to contain the fire. One occupant was taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Deborah Soul says she was visiting next door neighbors when she noticed the street was blocked off by at least 6 fire trucks.
And all the fire trucks and ambulances were here, and they wouldn't let me through, and I was concerned because I know the people next door, and I thought maybe they had a heart attack or something was wrong with them.
Soul says fortunately none of her friends were affected by the fire. DeWitt says they were called to the home a second time this morning for another fire after the occupant returned to his home. He says the home is heavily damaged. Red Cross has been notified and are making arrangements to help the homeowner. Our season update after some much-needed cooler weather and light rain moved through the valley Saturday. Fire officials say it barely put a dent in the fires burning in our area. Spokesperson Tom Berglund says the foothills west of Oak Ridge picked up 1/4 inch of rain last night, but it did very little to help firefighting efforts.
It was very light rain that didn't penetrate very much. Still pretty dry up there, but it did wet down the fine fuels so that the fire isn't spreading easily right now. But the big hot spots are still big hot spots.
Berglund says level 2 evacuation orders dropped to level 1 yesterday, but he still urges residents to keep some items ready to go. He says fire activity will pick up throughout the week. Temperatures are supposed to reach the upper 80s and dry weather will return. For Labor Day, many like to head outdoors, but before you do, there's a few things you should know. The Lane Regional Air Protection Agency predicts smoke from the fires will keep the index ranging from moderate yellow to unhealthy orange for the rest of the holiday weekend. For those in the Oak Ridge Westford area, now those in Eugene and Springfield can expect air quality to range from good to moderate. We have a News Source 16 traffic alert for you now involving a fatal crash in Douglas County. State and county officers responded to Highway 138 near Steamboat east of Roseburg after a crash between a motorcycle and a motorhome closed down the road. OSP says this is going to be a long-term closure and there are no detours. Well, we started the day off with a crisp, cool morning. Now taking a live look over the Eugene Springfield area tonight. The sun is still out, but not for long. Let's turn now to Carly Gomez, who's in the Weather Center with your first alert for you. In tonight's crime tracker, developing news out of Silverton, where a manhunt that lasted all night ended with a murder suspect walking right into an area hospital. Jason Down will soon face charges after police say he killed Cassandra Wagner. Friends say they had a long-term relationship. This all started around 7 last night after a neighbor heard gunshots and called police. They rushed to the area. Wagner was dead and Down was nowhere to be found. Neighbors say they saw the two recently together doing yard work and can't believe what's happened.
I always waved when she drove by. As a matter of fact, it was yesterday late afternoon she drove by and I turned and waved, and it was so ironic to me that neither one of us had any idea that she'd be laying dead in her house hours later.
Down was somehow injured during all of this. He hid out for hours, then showed up at Silverton Hospital for treatment. Police say he was then airlifted to a Portland hospital. The DA is expected to file charges on Tuesday. Continuing coverage tonight on the Klamath Falls officer-involved shooting. The Klamath County Sheriff made a 10-hour round trip to Portland today to visit his deputy, Jason Weber, in the hospital after he was shot in the line of duty a few days ago. Hillary Lake has the story. I'm Kelsey Dudley. Last night, the Corvallis Fire Department raced to a report of a large grass fire in Chip Ross Park. An update on the Corvallis fire is tonight's top story. The blaze spread quickly, forcing about 200 residents to evacuate, while a residential structure on Northwest Morning Glory suffered exterior damage. There are no reported injuries. The blaze appears to have started north of 29th Street. While the fire is 100% contained, last night a completely different scene in Corvallis.
The flames were extremely high, a lot of smoke, embers flying all over the place. It was quite the deal. Quite the deal.
We were just fortunate they were all available and not involved in other fires. That really helped to make the difference, working together as a collective team.
About 85 acres burned. The fire brought over 10 fire agencies to Corvallis to battle the blaze. Chip Ross Park is closed officially right now, but some good news. People were able to get back to their homes this morning. The cause of the fire is currently under investigation. The Yellow Point fire is spreading and is now roughly about 220 acres. The sudden growth can in part be blamed by the weather, high temps, low humidity, and dry winds. The fire is located about 25 miles west of Cottage Grove. Thankfully, no homes or structures are threatened, but the public is being asked to stay clear of the area. Road closures include South Sisters Road, South Sisters Road Junction, and Oxbow Access Road. It was neighbors helping neighbors last night near Dorena as a mobile home fire sparked another wildfire. Resident Mike Christie sent us these pictures of the blaze, which he says broke out about 6 last night between Dorena and the village of Distant. That's about 20 miles southeast of Cottage Grove. Christie tells us before state forestry crews could arrive, about 20 families grabbed shovels to try to control the blaze. Fire crews were called to the scene of a tree fire on the 700 block of Nebraska Street in Eugene just after 7 o'clock Friday night. The blaze quickly moved to a nearby home and started to threaten surrounding houses in a matter of minutes. Witnesses say the flames spread incredibly quick.
And we seen a little bit of smoke, and we just kind of assumed that someone was barbecuing, and literally within seconds a tree just went up in flames.
And I seen fire on the backside of the neighbor's fence by the trash can, and I grabbed my garden hose, and by the time I got it hooked up ready to go, that tree caught fire.
Fire spread to another home, but Battalion Chief Matt Ennis says the damage to this second home was not as severe. Ennis says the blaze could have been much larger if the fire response hadn't been so large. 10 to 12 units were on scene. At this point, the cause of the fire is still under investigation. No word yet on how much damage the blaze caused, but Ennis says one home is completely unlivable. Firefighters continue to make progress on the Deception Complex fires burning west of Oak Ridge. So far, those fires have scorched nearly 3,000 acres. Right now, over 1,100 fire personnel are working to put out the blazes. The fires have been 55% contained. Taking a live look over the Eugene-Springfield area tonight, are we in for another warm day? NewsStar 16's Jill. An Albany woman has pleaded guilty to phoning in a bomb threat at an Albany school. 47-year-old Janelle Robin Pinkston faces up to 10 years for calling in the phony threat at Waverly Elementary School in April of 2013. She also admitted to calling in 2 other threats earlier that month. No bombs were ever found at those locations. A 14-year-old Skio teen is arrested and lodged in the Lynn Benton Detention Center for attempted arson. In June, the Skio's Thriftway security camera caught the teen lighting matches and throwing them on a bag of briquettes. Above the small fire was a shelf with propane tanks and bottles of lighter fluid. Employees put out the fire, resulting in minimal damage thanks to photos of the surveillance video. In the help of staff at Skio Middle School, deputies were eventually able to identify the suspect and take him in yesterday. Deputies are also investigating another arson fire that happened Wednesday at the former West Skio Tavern.